wanted to do another video concerning public assistance, and this time I will be focusing on HUD and Section 8 and federally funded housing, because I did a public assistance video, but I was going to speak on Section 8, but I took a lot of time and it was kind of a longer video and I didn't want to add to it, so I said I'll go ahead and do the housing part later, which I'm just now getting to, because what really gets me about what people are saying today is that, poor people are sucking money out of the system, which is laughable, and a lot of this money that is coming from taxpayers, that it's going to the poor, which it's not. When I did my public assistance video, it was in response to the slashes that were made to food stamps, TANF, and Medicaid, and how you had all these dusty tumbleweeds on social media talking about concerning melanated women that, they were going to get kicked out and they were going to be prostituting themselves and they were going to be doing all kind of sexual favors to live and eat. That was some of the most disgusting stuff I had ever heard in my life concerning, single mothers and women. It was this foaming at the mouth from these wolves at the fact that they would have a woman to be around them to do anything they wanted and any sexual perverted thing that they wanted them to do. It was disgusting to see that and read that and know that was all that was about, having some type of European patriarchy controlling slave type thing going on with these women. They were happy that, women would be women who work. Most people on public assistance work anyway. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but they were gleeful that these women would be kicked out of homes and children would be homeless out on the street. Who could ever be happy about that? They are disgusting inside. They're rotten at their core. But with housing assistance, a lot of people have made that to be Section 8. And when you hear Section 8, the image that pops up in your mind is Black people, because it was presented that way to the public. Any public assistance is always presented as if it is helping Black people. I even saw some ridiculousness of the opioid crisis that's ruining families, and they had Black children up there. I'm like, this is some grade A bullshit that you would have a Black child anywhere in this little documentary talking about opioids ruining the family. We know who meth, heroin, and opioids, we know who's taking that. Come on now. We know who that's affecting. And because I myself spent 2 years in public assistance, basically working, I know the real. So when people come saying Fox News sound bites or something that they heard from somebody else on social media, I can basically tell the truth from the lies. And it's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people have no idea how this system works, except for if you've been in the inside. And I've definitely been in the inside to see how it works. And I can see how the numbers are inflated with African American people and how they have been deflated with European people. And it says here, because there's different type of housing, and they have listed here project-based Section 8, public housing, Section 202, Section 811, and voucher programs. It has the categories of household with disabilities, elderly, non-elderly, non-disabled with children, non-elderly, non-disabled without children. you can see how those numbers are broken down there and who's receiving what. Understand that a person is not pretending and cheating to get into these programs. You have to meet a certain income to be able to qualify for this. But if your income is over, you don't qualify and you don't get it. Your income is taken into consideration. And if you're making a certain amount, you're responsible for the full rent. You can be responsible for that full rent depending on your income. And they can change that month to month because you have to report income anytime it changes for any public assistance that you get. Now, this is broken down by race, and this is incomes below $20,000. How people are living on below $20,000. Here you can see they have it in order from Black, Hispanic to white, others, and then it says all. But here you can see on the project-based Section 8, you have 93% Black, 90% Hispanic, and 95% white. So the majority are white. Of whites are on this. Public housing, 85% Black, 84% Hispanic, and 91% white. So the majority is white there. And I don't want to hear about this if you break it down into percentage and because of the population size bullshit, because it's bullshit. I don't want to hear that. Like I said, what I take into consideration is the majority of a certain group has accumulated a lot of wealth. They say they have the highest IQ. They are the innovators, creators, the original people. They say that they can make something out of nothing, and they are just the most immoral group and creative group on the planet. Now, when you make those claims about yourself, I'm going to take that into consideration and then ask, why are you the majority taking a handout, which is what they use. It's not a word that I use. This is a word that they use. So why can they not pull themselves up by their bootstraps with Section 202, 95% Black, 98% Hispanic, 97% white? Hispanics get the 202. Section 811, 98% Black, 100% Hispanic, and 98% white. And then for Section 8 vouchers, 84% Black, 85% Hispanic, and 92% white. And this shows the type of programs each race is in. Now, the project-based Section 8 is 49% white. And this is other. This is Hispanic, 13%, 33% Black here. So they get the most project-based Section 8. Then here, public housing, Black people get the most at 45%, Hispanic 21%, and white 32%. And then here, with the Section 8 vouchers, this is meaning that Black people have to live, in public housing more. And then here with the Section 8 vouchers, again, you see the corresponding numbers here, but it's 45%, 16% Hispanic, and 35% white. And this is households living in high poverty neighborhoods, 40% plus by race across housing programs. And you can see that every single one, from project-based Section 8 to public housing to vouchers, that Black people are the majority that are living in high poverty neighborhoods. Here, Black and Hispanic just living in public housing. Now, and it's saying that, that Black and Hispanic, which is majority Black, but Black and Hispanic are living in neighborhoods that have a poverty rate over 40%. But yet we see who is receiving housing. And you can see here, this is a census of poverty rate, who's living in the high poverty areas. This is 40% and over. This is 0 to 9%. And you can see a stark contrast. Even though both groups are qualifying for the programs, you can see who ends up getting a better deal and living in a better neighborhood with more opportunity and a chance to actually get up on their feet and leave the program possibly. I will go ahead and leave this in the description box. Well, some people don't know the difference between Section 8 public housing. So it says here, the Section 8 housing choice voucher programs allow you to choose your own rental unit anywhere in the NRHA 7 county region. The landlord must agree to be a participant in the program and sign a contract with the housing authority. The rental unit must then pass a housing authority inspection, and the housing authority must approve the rent charged by the landlord as a reasonable rent. There are two types of Section 8 assistance available through NRHA: tenant-based and project-based. A tenant-based Section 8 voucher can be transferred from one rental unit to another if the tenant chooses to move and follows the proper procedures outlined by the housing authority. A project-based Section 8 voucher is linked to a specific housing project development and remains with the project development rather than transferring with the tenant who chooses to move outside the project. Under public housing program, NRHA is the owner or landlord of the property. Public housing units are available for rent at below the market rate based on your income level. So at the very least, you'd be paying $25 at the very least, depending on your income. That's as low as I know for it to go. And like I said, if your income changes, you can then be responsible for the entire rent. Now, I wanted to show some of the listings here in Indiana that is basically your Section 8 type housing and the rent. And before anybody says, oh, I wish I could pay that rent for a 3-bedroom house, you can see this 3-bedroom house right here for $975. But you have to keep in mind, here in Indiana, you're not paid much. I mean, you can have $9 an hour job. The most here, I believe, is between $11 to $13 an hour. And you have to search for those jobs. I mean, I've made more. I did further my education. I have made more, but what you're going to make in other places is so much more. So in actuality, this rent is not cheap, especially for the jobs that are available and what you can end up making. So even though you may be in another state and saying, you know, I have to pay so much for rent, you are making more money at your job. So it's damn near the same. It's just that people wish that they can make what they're making at that job and have that rent. But we have to keep in mind, now this is somebody who could be making at the very least $8 an hour, at the very most $13 an hour. A lot of these places, you will see these pictures, but if you really look at these places here, they are quite small. They can be run down. They are not maintained. I have never seen so many slumlords until I moved here to Indiana, because I'm originally from Illinois. I have never experienced anything like this, where people do not like to take care of their property. It's insane. When you see something like this, like, wow, $450 something, that would be reasonable. Actually, what's going to happen, you're going to be moving to a part of Indiana that you really don't want to be in. It's a place where there's not many jobs, there's not many opportunity. It is technically the hood, and there's nothing for you to do. There's no progress that you can make living in that area, because when you see something like that, you can put in the address for it and see where it is. And when I was looking up everything to do this video, when you put some of these addresses in, it's always on the east side. And anybody here who lives in Indiana, or anybody listening who lives in Indiana, we know about the east side. There's parts of the east side where you can go where it has been fixed up and it looks really, really nice. But the places that, if you have Section 8, that you're going to be living, is not some place that you want to live. It's crime ridden in certain neighborhoods. It is drug dealing going on in certain neighborhoods, and it's not somewhere that you would be comfortable living. Like right now where I live, it's a very family oriented neighborhood, but I can tell a lot of these people who voted for Trump, they're having a hard time of it right now. I can tell that they are frustrated, because you know Indiana is a red state. They voted for Trump, hands down. They voted for Pence, all of that. So I can tell in a certain situation, which is another video I'm going to do about unemployment, they are losing their jobs. I saw this happening because I could access certain people's information, and I kept seeing that they were being fired, and this was in the healthcare sector. So they were losing these jobs that were paying them bonuses and paying them a lot of money, and they were letting them go left and right. So I know what's really going on with them. I can tell certain people who are coming from a certain place that is known to have inflated rent to keep certain people out. They want you to go there and work, but they don't want you to live there. So they make the prices where you can't afford it, and they pay you where you can't afford it. But I see these people now creeping into the area where I live because things are a little bit more cheaper. I see, you know, trash, and also people who look like they're on meth and heroin. They are moving in. And I could tell the gentrification process was taking place when they started doing certain things. But I'm noticing people I haven't been seeing before, and I know they're coming from the neighboring town where they inflated those prices. It's getting hard for them to keep up the charade. It's getting hard for them to pay those prices because they're losing their jobs. And Donald Trump did not go over there and get the millions and millions of jobs that were sent to China, and he hasn't brought them back here for them. But I wanted to go and show that the money is not going to poor people. And since they want to put our faces on there, I wanted to show where all of this money is going that's being put into the housing program. Now here it says, Miami developers contractor plead guilty in 36 million affordable housing scam. I will go ahead and put this article in the description box, and there's also a video that talks about this at length. What happens is the government will pay these people millions of dollars to build affordable housing. They get kickbacks, they get bonuses, they get a lot of money to build specifically affordable housing. Now this affordable housing is supposed to give people who are poor housing in a area where they can have more opportunity. But what happens is that a contractor will build a affordable complex, right? And they will say that they've went over everything. They've got the permits, they have everything, the zoning, all of that taken care of. And they are speaking with the contractor. And this is something that's going on with the developers and the contractors, but they will say that a property is going to take $20 million to build. And sometimes this happens when the developer is scamming and the contractor is not involved. They will say to the contractor that they're going to pay them $20 million to build the housing. And then they will go back and tell the government that this project is going to cost $25 million. So that means they will pay the $20 million, but they get $5 million kickback in their pocket. And some of these developers do multiple projects. So imagine getting $2 million to $5 million, even more each project. Or it could be the developer and the contractor that is getting money. Like they could do the $20 million. He could say, it's going to be $20 million. I'll pay you $20 million. Or they can say that it's $25 million, knowing that they're going to build it for $20 million and then split the $5 million between the developer and the contractor. So to think that poor people and people on Section 8 or HUD housing is actually taking this money. No, as you can see here, this is developers in Miami and contractors who pled guilty to scamming the affordable housing program out of $36 million. $36 million that was supposed to go to building homes for poor people. They're basically stealing from the poor, and they are stealing from the taxpayer. So that money isn't even going to the people who need it or for the program it was meant for. Other people are getting that money, and this is happening with, if they just stole the $36 million, you can imagine as many people that is in the affordable housing program that develop these affordable homes, they are stealing money too. And there is no regulation over this. Nobody's looking into this. Everybody is turning the other way because they are rolling in taxpayer money that they're stealing from the poor. So the next time you hear someone talking about, laughing gleefully about somebody being put out of their home because of Section 8 cuts, these cuts are not necessary. The poor person is going to be affected by this. But the person who is scamming and getting away with this already has millions of dollars, and they are the one who is stealing the money. But I'll go ahead and leave it right here. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one.